March 1897, in Cavite, Philippines. Myong, in the lull of battle, saw a man approaching from afar. It was his older brother, Crispolo. As he approached Myong, he happily hugged and greeted him. "You are the new president of the revolutionary government." General Aguinaldo, having made a name for himself, made the Spaniards weary of his military genius and leadership capabilities. So in response, they sent more men and heavy artillery to fight off the rebellion in Cavite. Slowly but surely, the Spaniards reclaimed several areas of the province. This proved that the Spaniard military are still superior over the Katipunan, and they have pushed Aguinaldo and his men to retreat. But Aguinaldo, even in the midst of losing ground, went as far as going to the front lines to restore order and discipline to an army in disarray. In the middle of all these, the major factions of Katipunan, Magtalo, and Magdiwang decided to convene in Tejeros to establish a revolutionary government and elect its leaders. While Aguinaldo wasn't present in the election, he won as president. Men were sent to inform him of his victory and take his oath in Santa Cruz de Malabon. One could speculate the reaction of Myong. He could have been surprised for his winning as president, or could have regained his confidence in commandeering his troops. But he is very reluctant to leave the battlefield, as he knows the Spaniards are slowly but surely recapturing key areas of Cavite. Upon learning of Myong's reluctance to leave the battlefield and take his oath, the new government sent his brother, Crispolo, to personally pick him up from the battlefield. As Crispolo was able to settle down, Myong explained that he cannot leave the battlefield as the situation is bleak. Crispolo did not want to leave without his brother. Knowing the dedication of Myong, he looked him in the eye and said, "Myong, you must go. I will stay here and take over the leadership of the army for you. I promise the enemy has to pass over my lifeless body before they could claim this territory." Myong, moved by Crispolo's words, finally agreed to his brother's plea. In the middle of the night, Aguinaldo went off to Santa Cruz de Malabon. Myong, together with other elected officials, took oath in a convent. The next day, in the middle of his cabinet meeting, one of his soldiers reluctantly approached Myong and said, "I have unfortunate news from the battlefield. We have lost Pasong Santol. Your brother did not make it. He has been killed. He is last seen drenching and drowning in his own blood." Myong was shocked. He knew that it could have been him dead if he didn't leave the battlefield. Without any thoughts, he rushed back to the battlefield to look for his brother in the middle of the night. The Spaniards were dumbfounded on why the Filipinos were not shooting back at them. Myong didn't find his brother's body, only to find out the Spaniards had taken him to a hospital where he later on died. Myong was in a deep grief. Unfortunately for him, there is no time to mourn. His duties as president await him. But aside from the threats coming from the Spaniards, there is a looming power vacuum within the revolutionaries. Myong received a report that Gat Andres Bonifacio together with some generals are in Naik, Cavite declaring a counter-revolutionary government, which will be known as Acta de Naik. In response, Myong went to Naik to confront Bonifacio to convince him to reconcile and join the new government. Upon reaching the headquarters of Bonifacio, Myong heard him declaring Myong guilty of treason, alleging that Myong wants to negotiate with the Spaniards to give up the revolution. Myong entered the room to the surprise of Bonifacio and the generals. Taken aback, Bonifacio told Myong, "Come, sit with us and join our meeting." Myong replied, "Thank you for the kind gesture, but if I'm needed here, you could have invited me in the first place." Then Myong left. Two of Myong's former generals who joined Bonifacio, Mariano Noriel and Pio del Pilar, clearly surprised with the events, went out of the room and followed Aguinaldo. Soon, Myong received reports that Bonifacio and his men ransacked and burned the town of Indang as the locals allegedly didn't want to provide Bonifacio with food supplies. As if this was not enough, a rumor spread that Bonifacio had stolen the revolutionary war chest and was going to exchange it for a pardon from a Spanish general. While most of these are just hearsay and misunderstanding, it would put Supremo's leadership and life on the line. The following days, Aguinaldo ordered his men to have the Supremo arrested. Andres was tried in the Consejo de Guerra, which was just a mock trial, and was sure to prove his guilt. He was ordered to be executed. When Myong learned of the verdict, he felt the judgment of the Consejo was too much and decided to pardon Bonifacio and throw him in exile instead. Noriel and Del Pilar were shocked on Myong's decision. They said, "Do you even know what you're doing? If you let Bonifacio live, then it's your life and presidency that will be in danger." The crimes committed by Andres and his brothers are known to all. If you wish to maintain the stability of our revolutionary government, and if you want us to survive this war, you have to revoke the pardon you are giving these two brothers. Don't show them mercy. Myong, being a young president, was easily persuaded and convinced. He retracted his pardon orders and let General Noriel execute Bonifacio and his brothers. They were executed in Maragondon on May 1897. The Spaniards launched a full-on attack in Cavite, capturing the whole province. Aguinaldo was forced to flee Cavite, heading north past Manila to Bulacan province, where he linked up with the revolutionary generals fighting the Spaniards in Central Luzon. On June 24, 1897, Aguinaldo reached Biak-na-Bato in San Miguel, Bulacan. They found a cave which will then be their headquarters for their new government. The Spanish leadership in the Philippines found that the Filipinos still had plenty of fight left in them despite the loss of Cavite. Adding to Spaniards' problems were the lack of support of the war in the Philippines from home, as they are also experiencing rebellion in Cuba. While on the other side, Myong and his generals were drawing up the Constitution for the First Republic of the Philippines. The Constitution would provide for a government in the Free Philippines separate from Spain. At this time, both the Filipinos and the Spaniards felt that they are locked in a stalemate. The Spaniards then decided to send a representative by the name of Pedro Paterno, a Filipino-Chinese lawyer educated in Spain, to discuss a truce with the Filipinos. In December 1897, both sides agreed to sign the Pact of Biak-na-Bato. The Filipinos and the Spaniards entered into a truce with the conditions of the Spaniards paying Aguinaldo and the Republic 800,000 Mexican peso in exchange of Aguinaldo and his men going in exile to Hong Kong, among others. So Aguinaldo, together with some of his top men, went off to a ship going to Hong Kong. But neither the Filipinos nor the Spaniards trust each other. The Spaniards didn't give the full amount as agreed, and the Filipinos did not give up most of their arms. The deal was meant to fail. In Hong Kong, Aguinaldo will meet a new friend, or foe, as the Americans are waiting in the sidelines to enter the scene in the Philippine Revolution. Join us next time as we discuss Myong's travel in Hong Kong and his comeback to continue the fight in the Philippines. Thank you for watching, and please support our channel by clicking the subscribe button and liking our Facebook page. You can also send us your support by funding our videos through Patreon.